We're talking about a story that ends in tragedy for a young mother, Angelica Bravo. But for her two little kids, Athena and Mateo Lee, well, their story has no ending. It's a heartbreaking mystery that starts with a mother's death and leads to a desperate, ongoing search. So, how did this happen? A mother is dead, her two toddlers are just gone. In this explainer, we're going to trace the known facts from a home in Sacramento all the way down to Mexico. And through it all, one question hangs over everything. Where are Athena and Mateo Lee? To really understand what happened here, we've got to start with who this family was. A mother and her two young children, before their entire world was shattered. So who was Angelica Bravo? Well, she was only 28, but she was really making a life for herself. She was this talented hairdresser, an educator, and she was so proud of her diverse heritage, Japanese, Irish, and Mexican. But the most important thing, she was fighting so hard to start a new, safe life for her kids. And her little girl, Athena, who was 4 at the time, she was basically her mom's twin. The family called her a spitting image of Angelica, just this bright little kid. Then you've got 2-year-old Mateo. And I love this detail. They called him a little baller because he was apparently dribbling a basketball before he could even really run. Can you just picture that? Okay, so there's this beautiful family, but there is a dark side. And it all centered around the children's father, Camron Lee, and his relationship with Angelica. And this is where things get complicated. And sadly, it's a story we hear way too often. Some people would describe the relationship as just tumultuous or passionate. But others, they called it what it was: abusive. Domestic violence. And look, this wasn't just rumors or gossip. Camron Lee had a record, a serious one. We're talking arrests for illegally concealed handguns, drugs, big stocks of cash. This wasn't some simple, troubled relationship. Angelica was living with a man who was genuinely dangerous. And this quote, this is what's so chilling. Just a few days before everything happened, Angelica's sister noticed she was really withdrawn, really afraid. And Angelica finally told her that Camron had beaten her, taken her keys and her phone, and basically trapped her inside their own home. So now, let's look at that timeline, at the final awful hours of Angelica's life. It's just incredible how quickly everything fell apart. On July 6th, family members saw the kids. They were fine. By the early morning of July 8th, that's the official last seen time. And then, later that same evening, a relative gets worried, calls 911, and that's when they find her. Angelica is dead in a bathtub. And the kids, they're just gone. Okay, so Angelica's gone, the kids are missing. It didn't take long for investigators to focus on one person, their father, Camron Lee. And the hunt was on. Immediately, they tracked a Honda Pilot he'd borrowed, crossing into Mexico just 2 days after Angelica was found. Later, they find that car, just abandoned in Ensenada. But you know what's crazy? It took almost 9 months, before a warrant was officially issued for his arrest for murder and kidnapping. But here's the thing. Even with a suspect, this case is full of holes. These big, unanswered questions that are just haunting Angelica's family. This is one of the biggest problems for the case, right here. The autopsy on Angelica, it was inconclusive. I mean, yeah, she had bruises and scrapes, and they did find drugs in her system. But the actual cause of death, they couldn't prove it was murder. But, and this is a huge but, they also couldn't rule out homicide. They couldn't rule out something as awful as being smothered. And this is the question that keeps everyone up at night. We know his car went to Mexico. What we don't know is if Athena and Mateo were in it. Did they cross the border with him, or did he leave them somewhere behind in Southern California before he fled? We just have no idea. So that brings us to today. The search is absolutely still active. And honestly, this is where you might come in, where the public's help is just so critical. There's a $50,000 reward, 50 grand, for any information that brings these kids home safe and sound and puts Camron Lee behind bars. So please, right now, take a really good look at your screen. This is Athena Lee. She'd be 5 years old by now. Just steady her face, remember her features. And here's her little brother, Mateo. He would be 4. Again, just take a second to look at his picture, his description. And this is the man they're looking for. Their father, Camron Lee. He is wanted for murder and kidnapping, and you have to assume he's dangerous. He might be using different names, so his tattoos are going to be the key identifier. Look closely at that timeless tattoo right across his neck. That's a big one.
So if you've seen him, or the children, or if you have any little piece of information you think might help, please just make the call. The number for the Sacramento Police Department is right there on your screen.
Because when you strip everything else away, this is about two little kids. Athena and Mateo are out there, somewhere, without their mom. And the questions that hang over this whole case, they're the only ones that really matter. Are they okay? Are they safe? And will they and their mother ever, ever get justice?